Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Dre Show, everyone. It is Monday, September 21st, 2025. What better way to start off your week than right here on the show? Thanks again for tuning in to hear all the relevant groundbreaking news, both here in the United States and around the world. The only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Don't forget to hit that like button, follow the show, hit that notification tab, and share it with as many people as possible to help get this truth out. Let's get ready now, though, for the best hour that radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go. Let's get down to brass tacks right away. You know, I was very touched by what I saw yesterday at this Charlie Kirk memorial that took place in Glendale, Arizona. And I didn't watch the entire thing. I watched little parts of it and what have you. But I saw this in just the news yesterday. And I have to say, it's absolutely remarkable when you see the power and influence of one individual in America and how that can change and totally shape a new precedent for the average American. And it says here that the United States church attendance of most denominations has risen following Charlie Kirk's murder. That's amazing to me. Charlie was this voice who went to campuses. He would challenge people on their positions. He'd let anyone come to that mic and have an exchange with him. And, you know, people have criticized him for some of the things he says. Everything is taken out of context, by the way. Every single thing they try to slap on him. The racist, the misogynist, the sexist, the xenophobe, the homophobe, the trans, all these words. Because they're too stupid to debunk what he's been saying. Because by and large, he makes very good points. Now, that doesn't mean I agreed with Charlie and everything he stated. But he was, this even-keeled conservative who would like to exchange and discourse with everybody on a college campus, hearing things they'd never heard before. Things they're not hearing in the lecture halls, in the classrooms. And this is a big threat to the establishment, for number one, because this is the wing they controlled so very much. They controlled what took place on college, universities, and campuses. They controlled the narrative. Now you have somebody come on campus. He's drawing a lot of attention over the years. And now he has hundreds of people stopping, wearing MAGA hats to listen to what he has to say. They're recording it. They're sharing with their friends. You're seeing it on TikTok. You're seeing it on Instagram, on Facebook. You can't stop something when it's moving like this. Now, aside from being a prominent conservative activist who, again, hosted these conferences for young conservatives, he was also very much a devout evangelicist. I think is how you'd say it, right? Now, I've been told, and again, many prominent people that knew him have stated that he was actually moving away from the Protestant denomination and was actually starting to attend Catholic Mass. Now, I'm a Catholic, so I like that. Whatever you prefer, obviously. But he was changing. Charlie was evolving in his belief in God Almighty. There's no question about that. People are trying to debunk that now. No, he was an evangelist. He wasn't going. No, he was going to Catholic Mass. Probably looking at converting, too. And the problem with that, and again, I hate to bring these types of things up, but the truth is, the Catholic Church does not have the same ardent adulation for the state of Israel as Christian evangelists do. That's a big problem. You have a guy with a massive following, millions of people following him on these social media websites. God knows how many people listen every single day. He's got a radio show. He does these conferences. He's starting to bring up very controversial people. Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Dave Smith, all these people that simply question what's happening now in the Middle East. They don't like that. They don't like when you question the narrative. They like things as is. And now Charlie's starting to move away from it. Not that he's anti-Israel, because I don't think he ever was. But he's questioning, what are we doing in the Middle East? What is happening now? With our own taxpayer dollars, with AIPAC, with our politicians, is this right? Is this wrong? He's starting to question the narrative. He was evolving. And both sides don't like when you evolve away from what they're doing. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So while I think this is great, and I do think it's great that more people are showing up to church on Sundays or Saturdays, if that's what you prefer, you're seeing a shift in the psyche of the American populace, particularly the American male, who has had enough of the, what do I want to say about this? The stand to the side, God, there's no such thing as God, promoting things like hookup culture and all those other things. You don't need to be a parent. You don't need to be a father. You don't need to be a provider. Charlie was influencing all these people to say, hey, this is what God says in the Bible. Verse by verse, he is saying this. That as a man, you are supposed to lead. You are supposed to provide. You're supposed to love your wife, not 100 different women. You're not supposed to go out every weekend and get tanked. So you wake up at noon the next day. You're supposed to have a purpose. And I want to read you this quote that was stated at the memorial for Charlie. This is, again, amazing. Absolutely amazing. The quote states, "Get married, have children, build a legacy, pass down your values, pursue the eternal, and seek true joy." That's every globalist's worst nightmare. Get married? No. Don't say that, Charlie. Charlie, it's one thing to say be a good American patriot. It's another thing to say get married. Have children. They don't want that either. They want to import all the, children from abroad. That's what you're seeing in American cities all across the nation and other parts of the country. So get married, that is very, very controversial to the powers that be. Get married, that means you're a unit, right? Husband and wife, get married. Have children now. So now we have two people that have come together through marriage. Now they're having children, and they're sharing these values with them. Now, they don't want you to have 3, 4, 5 kids. They want you to have 1, 2, because then you don't replace the existing demographic. That's why the powers that be have been so successful in cutting down the white population in the country. And I'm not saying that for any other reason other than they want to replace the white population in the country. They've been very open about this. So they tell you 1, 2 kids most. Don't have more than that, right? Have a nice white picket fence around the house. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But you're supposed to have at least 3 children. Just thought I'd share that with you. Build a legacy. Now, what does that mean exactly, a legacy? Now, Charlie built a legacy, right? The Turning Point USA is going to be something that we have forever. I think as long as this is a country. But he built a legacy on, again, freedom of speech, sharing ideas, particularly conservative American ideas. The idea that what you are building around you, whether it be in a career, in your home, with your family, that is part of your legacy on this earth. That is your purpose. What do you do every day? Do you go out and just do nothing? Do you sit at home and play video games? What is your legacy going to be? How are you going to be remembered? And that's what Charlie shared. He was absolutely building, and he has built a legacy. That he gets up every single day, he does a radio show. He goes on various news platforms. He does conferences. He goes to universities. He canvasses. He spoke at the RNC just this last year. He was leaving behind a massive, massive legacy, and he loved doing it. Pass down your values. Now, what are those values he's talking about? He's talking about Christian values here, particularly. The left hates that. The right doesn't really hate that so much. But the left hates that, by the way. They don't like that. They don't want you to pass down your values, especially Christian values. They're calling him a Christian nationalist now. And I think MS Nobody Cares or CNN, one of the disgusting news networks that plague the American public today. Yep, they don't want you to pass down values. And what are those values? The man is in charge of the house. The woman is the nurturer. The man is the provider. There's discipline in the family. Not everything goes. Love thy neighbor. They don't like these things because there is now structure in the household. They don't want the house to have structure. They want the mom at work. They want the dad at work. They want the kids in the school to learn the nonsense in the public schools now that they teach them. Go look at California's model if you care to wish to see the debauchery at hand that your kids are learning. Yep, they don't want you to learn all that. They want them in school earlier the better. That way they can indoctrinate them sooner. They don't want them to have structure. They don't want them to have discipline. They certainly don't want them to know the Word of God or that God exists. They want to get in there so they can twist your mind, wire it differently ahead of time. That's what they want. And Charlie was against it. He wanted women to stay home to take care of the children, should they have any. And so the woman could go and have a career afterwards. There's nothing wrong with that. Or a woman having a career at home even while she's having kids. But he understood the importance of the mother in the home while the husband is being the provider. He understood that. I understand it. You, I'm sure, understand this as well, how important that is. And how crucial that is to a child's development. Both emotionally, socially. It's very important. Pursue the eternal. Now, I heard this. I said, pursue the eternal. Obviously, he's talking about pursuing God. I would have to imagine that's what he's talking about. Pursue the eternal. Be active. Have a communication with God. Live as if you're trying to be just like God. And again, none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. Well, I'm a little perfect sometimes. But by and large, none of us are perfect. We make mistakes. We do things we're not supposed to. We do things we wish we hadn't done. But we get better. We confess. We do that. We have reconciliation, especially if we're Catholics. We try to get better at what we do. We try not to get worse. We try to get better. You and I want to be better people. Of course we do. We want to make our communities a better place. Again, when you're following the Word of God, when you're following what's written in the Bible, you are a much more less, I guess, what do I want to say? It's much harder to sway you away from the values of the founding, the values of God, if it's been ingrained in you at a very young age. The discipline, the moral aspect of it. The having purpose, being disciplined, showing respect for others. How hard is it to get respect from children these days? And I know this because I taught in the public school system. I show respect to everyone I meet. I don't go out and say things that are rude to people. I would never go out and say anything rude to anybody I don't know. Anyone for that matter. Now, there are people that are rude to you, and obviously you should stand up for yourself. But the idea that you go out and are just rude to people, like you're the only person that walks on this earth and everyone should be happy that you're around them. The whole point of Christianity, too, is, again, love thy neighbor. Don't covet goods of the neighbor. You build your own legacy. And that refers back to the other part of the quote. So pursue the eternal. Absolutely. And how do you get closer to God? Being in Mass, praying every day, praying as a family, reading Scripture, reading the Bible, reading the Gospels, breaking down what they mean. Again, this is why I'm saying Charlie was really coming to kind of this watershed moment for himself, where he's kind of becoming his own person now. And again, he's moving away from previous positions that he once had. And finally, seek true joy. What does that mean, seeking true joy? Seeking true joy, I mean, there's so many ways you can find joy. But Charlie saw joy in, obviously, engaging in politics. He loved being on those college campuses. That's not something I would do, and I like speaking. It takes a really rare person to do what he did, by the way. To, again, be so bold to sit down on a college campus, engage with anybody. Hey, you got the mic, go ahead. Give me what your best shot. And sometimes they'd have, little harsh exchanges between another. That happens at times. But by and large, he got people to think. He got people to question things, question authority, question the narrative. Seeking true joy. What does that mean? Does it mean taking a vacation once a year or something? Maybe it does. I don't know. But joy means something different to other people. The pursuit of your happiness. And I'm sure, I have no doubt in my mind, Charlie had joy in being a husband, having a family, 2 children, a son and a daughter, to again carry on that legacy of his. But I think Charlie's most joyful aspect about him, based on the things that I'm hearing from him in recent interviews, by the way, I can't confirm this, but he found joy in his belief in God. And I think we all can take something away from that. About 100,000 people showing up in the middle of Arizona to pay this homage to Charlie's legacy. Over 100 million people acknowledging this happen, watching it. That's a big difference, folks. That is somebody who has touched many, many lives. And I think all these people are all the better for it. I would have to say. I'm sure you agree as well. Now, there's some other things that are happening too in the background, of course, as Charlie's been laid to rest now. I think it's important that we continue to talk about this case because it's an ongoing case. It's an ongoing investigation. The New York Post has this article posted over the weekend. It says that gun that killed Charlie Kirk is a World War I era rifle that may be untraceable now. I mean, the story just gets better and better every time you look at it. The gun that Taylor, is it Taylor or Tyler? It's Tyler. There we go. Tyler Robinson, right? Allegedly used to assassinate Charlie Kirk was so old that it predated actual serial number mandates that took place after the JFK assassination. This is an old gun. Now it's that they're saying that it's making the weapon impossible now to track. This is unbelievable. So now we have a weapon we don't know if we can even trace to him. And the only way we can kind of associate with him is through these insane AI-ridden text messages we have now between Robinson and the roommate that like to dress up like an animal, right? Very sane people. The Mauser rifle, described in the text Robinson stated as Grandpa's rifle, is decades old. Now, these Mausers are German-made. They were made during both World Wars. And it's really interesting because these are a high-powered rifle. I've talked to you about this before. The rounds that go into this, which, again, a 30-06, massive weapon. About 3 inches in length. About the size of an adult male's ring finger. Now we have no way to even prove that he even owns this gun. How did he even get this gun? Is this the gun that was even used in the killing? We still have nothing from the autopsy. We have nothing from the ballistics of this weapon. And I was watching on social media over the weekend, and they were shooting from very close range, but nonetheless, they were shooting a 30-06 and a 5.56, and the difference in the way that this thing can like penetrate a watermelon, I mean, it just explodes it. Just blows it right up. I mean, it's just gone. This is something that is used to take down big game. Moose, elk, bear, I mean, you name it. Something big. That's how powerful this shot needs to be. Now they're saying, this is interesting. Now they're saying, and I got to shake my head at this. Who believes this nonsense? They're now saying that the bullet didn't even go through Charlie. That he had really strong neck bones. Now, I want to stop for a second here. It's baffling to even tell you that. It's so ridiculous to tell you this. That they actually think you believe that one of the most powerful bullets in the world is not going to go through the human bone. Because the bones are too strong. I mean, if you believe that, folks, I got some great beachfront property I can sell you in Bakersfield. It's about 200 miles from the closest beach, but it's beachfront property. I can sell you that. Very nice price. Give me a call if you think so. I mean, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to even suggest that the bullet wouldn't have gone through. Now, I do believe that it went through the spinal column because when he gets shot, if anyone has seen it, and again, I don't recommend anyone go see it, but the instant that he is shot, his hands both clench up. So it tells me that the nervous system has been compromised right away. I mean, he was probably dead, absolutely, right when that shot took place. But now they want to tell us that the bullet just didn't go through. A bullet of that size that went through his neck just simply didn't go through him. It just stayed inside of him. Okay, so then you did the autopsy. Where's the bullet? This should be an open and shut case. Where is the bullet? What do we know about the bullet? Why won't you tell us about the bullet? And I think everyone has a right to ask these questions. That's why I'm saying it. And I said before, we need justice for Charlie Kirk. That's the one thing we want. We need justice for Charlie Kirk. Yes, we want to carry out his legacy. But we want justice for this man. There should be justice. We should have the right person in mind. And again, I'm just not buying. There's nothing that ties this Robinson to this entire case. They have a photograph of him? What the hell is that photograph? He's not even holding a gun in the photograph. Just a random picture of a guy. It looks similar to him. I don't know if it's actually him. I can't tell. Picture's grainy. It's supposed to be a video camera footage. Let's see the whole footage. Let's see the entire video footage of him walking. Is he walking towards the roof? Is he walking on the roof? How do we compare this? We've got a picture of a guy in a black clad jumping off a roof. I don't know if that's him. I have no idea if it's him. Did he jump off roofs when he was a kid? I don't know. Does he have any experience handling a weapon like that? We don't know. We know nothing about this kid. I mean, this is ridiculousness. Absolute ridiculousness. Then he breaks down the gun. He leaves a screwdriver. Then he reassembles the gun somehow. And again, it's not easy to take apart and take apart and reassemble these weapons. It's going to take a little bit of time. So you're saying he shot the weapon, disassembles it, puts it in the backpack where there's already a towel and obviously another change of clothes in this small little backpack he's got. Forgets the screwdriver as he's trying to make his getaway, jumps off the roof, then walks behind a house, in a wooded structure, reassembles the weapon with the towel, and then leaves. Then he goes to Dairy Queen later on. Unbothered, by the way, but you saw the footage, I'm sure by now. He's in a different pair of clothes. I mean, God, what the hell's he have in this backpack? Leaves he's not even from the area. Why would he leave the weapon in the exact area? And who found the weapon? I want to know who found this weapon. That's it. This is the actual weapon. We know nothing about the bullet that killed him. Nothing. They're not telling us. Now, I've been told by people who are in investigation and forensics, that they don't want to release all the information right away. Okay, but then they also should be saying this is indefinitely this guy. They can easily tell us there's suspects in custody. We're looking into it. They don't have to release these AI-made text messages. What the hell's all this about? It's the most goofy conversations I've ever seen by any two people in my life. Even someone that dresses up as a cat or a dog or whatever this lunatic that he lived with would even say. It's not even in actual text message form. Then they say there's a handwritten note. Then they say the note was destroyed. Then they say they have a forensic reconstruction of the note. It just looks really bad. From anyone from a logical standpoint. They can say, oh, no, it's definitely him. He confessed to the father. He confessed to the father what? What did he confess to the father? You know, they're talking to the family. Okay. That looks like my son. Okay, but that still doesn't show. Okay, you said that it looks like your son. Great. There's still nothing tying him to this murder, this assassination. Do they have any other leads? Do we have any other information about anybody there? Did the bullet have to come from the roof? We don't know anything about this. We're almost 2 weeks since this awful tragedy took place. It says cops found the weapon hours after the assassination. So the cops were behind somebody's house in the woods? Again, why were they there? Did they go by everyone's house? but it's not clear whether they would have been able to trace it to Robinson, referring to the Mauser, had his family not pressured him into surrendering to the cops. He didn't surrender. They arrested him. That he wasn't cooperating, that he was, that he wasn't. It's just ridiculous, this case. Then he does the interview with the judge. It looks like he's wearing a vest of some sort. And it's just odd. Why is he not in court? Why is he doing it through a Zoom call? Why is he wearing that, first of all? Just a lot of questions I have. Lots and lots of questions. Robinson said in the text, again, we can't even verify these texts exist, to the roommate that the gun had belonged to his grandfather, but it was not clear how his grandfather came into possession of it. It's a World War I weapon. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Yep. The origin of the weapon. Again, I don't know if it's a 1906 model, but that's the year that it was invented. We know nothing about this. We don't know if he shot this weapon. We have no idea if he has any knowledge of how to even, zero in on the scope. We have no idea. Nothing. Now the father goes, yeah, we go hunting every weekend. We shoot game from 300 yards away every day. Okay. That allows us to know that he at least used the weapon, but not, can we even trace this weapon to him? Or is he just another patsy? Am I allowed to say that? Well, I think I just did. All right. That's all I got to say on this, folks. I can't take much more of this. I got to be honest with you. It's mind-boggling that anyone would buy this nonsense. There's so many holes in this investigation. It's very troubling. Apparently now the FBI is going to be getting involved in this as well, so we'll see how that all turns out. It'll be more nonsense, or will we actually get some answers here? All right, let's move on. The AP, this has not been stated anywhere, by the way. I didn't see it on the news this weekend. Nowhere. It says Israeli drone strike kills 5, including 3 children in southern Lebanon. Okay. All right. Seems normal, right? They're in war, right? They're in a 7-front war right now. 3 of these people, I think it's 3, were American citizens. Did you know that? Did anyone tell you that? No. Why wasn't it in the news? Shouldn't this be very, very troubling? That we have American citizens killed in the midst of this war. Nobody's saying a damn thing about it. And I ask myself, why? Why are they not telling us? Don't we have a right to know that Americans were killed abroad? Yep, Israel killed 4 U.S. citizens, including 3 children, in an airstrike in Lebanon. We're told nothing about it. It's not on any chyrons, not any groundbreaking news, breaking news, whatever you want to call it. Nothing. Nothing at all. It says here, an Israeli drone strike in southern Lebanon killed 5 people Sunday, including 3 children. Lebanese health minister has stated. 2 others were wounded, including the mother of the family. It says the Israeli military said it was targeting Hezbollah militants, and that he operated from within a civilian population, and then acknowledged that civilians were killed and that they were reviewing the incident. Ooh. So that's their big apology, of course. Yep, there it is. So Lebanese Parliament Speaker Berry, Berri, said that 4 of those killed, the 3 children, as well as the father, held U.S. citizenship. There it is. The U.S. State Department, that'd be Marco Rubio, however, said that none of the 5 appeared to be U.S. citizens, but that the situation was still fluid. Oh, there we go, Marco. Good for you. Good for you. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. No one said a damn thing about this. Now, if they're holding U.S. citizenship, but they still can't figure it out now? Well, really? Now, it says Israel frequently targets Hezbollah militants or infrastructure in the tiny country battered in the southern region. Hezbollah has only claimed firing across the border once since this ceasefire, but Israel says that the militant group is trying to rebuild its capabilities. So it's an all-out war going on. All-out war happening right now. And we're hearing nothing about it. The months-long war between Hezbollah and Israel has killed some 4,000 people in Lebanon and displaced residents all across its southern and eastern border. I thought we were supposed to be in ceasefires right now. Right? Wasn't that the thing? We're supposed to be a ceasefire in Gaza, yet they're running this bombing campaign yet again in Gaza City. It's another nightmare happening. Over 60,000 killed. Another 400,000 at least missing. At least. That's on the probably low end. The Lebanese officials now have warned that the ongoing strikes risk the country's recent efforts to disarm the group that they're referring to Hezbollah. And this could destabilize the country. Well, that's the point of it, folks. Lebanon is a part of Greater Israel. I've talked to you about this before. Now, Hezbollah has been maintaining that it no longer has any military presence south of the Litani River and has refused to speak of disarmament without Israel stopping its attacks and withdrawing from the southern Lebanese territory. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. They want this land. You think they're going to stop now? They want to try to make sure Hezbollah is disarmed. They don't want them retaliating, so the more they bomb them, the better it is for them. The easier it will be to move right in and take the entire region. Now, Netanyahu has come out as well. This is in Breitbart News, written by Joel Pollack. And I like the way that Joel writes. He writes fairly well. It says here that there will be no Palestinian state west of the Jordan River. So Netanyahu has now vowed on Sunday, stating that there will not be any Palestinian state west of the Jordan River, after several countries have now come out, and they've, despite this war happening, and of course the lack of signs of statehood. So Netanyahu says in this statement, right, he says, I have a clear message to those leaders who are recognizing a Palestinian state after the horrendous October 7th massacre that I guess they let happen for 6 to 7 hours. They were told to stand down. Yep. Nobody told you, too, that the IDF has killed Israelis that day, too? Oh, no one told you that, did they? Oh, okay. Well, I just did. So now you know that. And my sources count, by the way. You are now rewarding terror with an enormous prize. Now, this is interesting coming from a guy who's killed people in sovereign nations, just as of recently. The bombing of the building in Doha, right? They entered, they bombed a sovereign nation. You don't think that's a type of terror attack? If another nation, let's say, for example, if Canada flew a plane in and blew up a building in America right now, wouldn't you view that as an act of terror? I would. How about putting C4 in beepers and allowing all of them to ignite and go off at the exact same time? We have no idea who was even around it. Many innocent people were killed. Went off in stores and what have you in public. And they were claiming, of course, well, we knew it was going to Hamas, so we put it in these beepers that went to Hamas. And we detonated them all at the same time. And that's totally fine. Mike Pompeo got on the news media and said how great it was. What a genius plan. He wishes he thought of it. Folks, this is a terror attack. It is designed to get people to kowtow to your position. And nobody talks about it. Well, there are some people, myself, and many others included, that think for a living. He goes on to say, I have another message for you. It's not going to happen. There will be no Palestinian state west of the Jordan River. For years, I've prevented the creation of that terror state against tremendous pressure, both domestic and from abroad. That's a bunch of nonsense, too. He's allowed money to go into Gaza from who was it? From Qatar. He allowed them to send millions of dollars in there. He got a cut of it, too, by the way. You didn't hear about that. No, it's not on your news media, is it? No, just the protests in the streets, right? The vigilantes in the streets, right? The wonderful human beings they are, right? They go over there, they protest, they destroy. It's such a genius tactic to ignore what's happening. They focus in on these protests where people are being unruly, they're destroying property, all things which I disagree with, by the way. And it's really a riot in many regards. Threatening students from going to class, this and that. It's awful. It shouldn't be happening. Protest is one thing. It's another thing to have a full-scale riot and call for killing people you disagree with. So they focus on that aspect of it, the free Palestine, this and that nonsense. But then they ignore what's happening inside Gaza, where the real Palestinians are struggling right now. They're being starved to death in many regards. They're not getting food. They have no access to clean water or electricity in many regards, because Israel controls everything that goes into Gaza. And again, you can look it up. They've said this. It's not me saying this. It's not just Marco Gervais. It is what they are saying. They've gone on record saying for the past 3 months, we have not allowed food to enter this region. And there's many other people that support it. So he goes on to say, we have done this with determination, with astute statesmanship. Moreover, we have doubled the Jewish settlements in Judea and Samaria, and we'll continue on this path. So what he's saying is in the areas of the West Bank and what have you, they're going to continue to build. They're going to keep doing that. And the Palestinians in that region are going to have to figure it out. So just another way for them to gather more land. He finishes by saying, the response to this latest attempt to force upon us a terror state in the heart of our land will be given after my return from the United States. Stand by. Yeah, there we go. So he's got to get more money, is what he's trying to say here. He's got to get more money for this campaign to enhance Greater Israel. That's going to happen too, because Reuters has this article published just 2 days ago, saying that the Trump administration plans $6.4 billion in weapons aid to Israel. There you go. So we're complicit in all this, by the way, folks. We're complicit in this bombing of Lebanon and Gaza, the attack in Doha. We fund their entire military. On top of giving them other aid as well. We've given them, I think, February? $8 billion? Now we're giving another $6.4 billion? Now we know that they were greatly depleted during this war with Iran that lasted 12 days, that had to end, that they were begging for a ceasefire for. And of course, even people on the right, were coming out saying, well, Israel got them. Like, are you serious? You have a third of Tel Aviv destroyed. You had blackouts because the Haifa refineries hit. 2 of the 3 of their only ports are destroyed and inoperable right now. You had Israelis trying to flee. Well, they couldn't because there was no airport to get on a plane with because Ben Gurion Airport got hit, among other parts of the city. And they were coming out and saying that Iran was begging for the ceasefire. Iran was ready to go. Iran was passing the Iron Dome and making very calculated hits, by the way. Yep, so they can bomb Iran, they can bomb Syria, they can bomb Lebanon, they can bomb in Gaza, they can bomb in Qatar. All this is fine, and nobody has a damn thing to say about it. Now they want more money. So now the Trump administration is now seeking congressional approval to sell Israel $6.4 billion in support for equipment that includes weapons, including attack helicopters, troop carriers. I mean, what are we doing here? You are funding this war. Just like the same damn thing that's happening in Ukraine right now. You have the idiot General Kellogg coming out saying Russia's losing this conflict. I can't believe these people are in any type of position to explain anything. I mean, I'm not even a military guy. And I know that's not true. I also listen to people in the military that know what the hell's going on. And intelligence, by the way. But the idea that they're taking their tanks from museums, this is what he was trying to allude to in this discussion he had, is just nonsense. Exaggerating the number of death of Russians again. This is how they try to get their positions across. But it doesn't work because we know the truth. We see what's happening. You see that Ukrainians are trying to get the hell out of there. And Poland's actually let many in right now because they refuse to go to war. especially go to the front lines where it's an absolute death sentence for them. 1.7 million dead Ukrainians. And no end in sight to this conflict. Because Zelensky doesn't want it. He's making a lot of money. He likes it. You have the fools in the EU that are still funding this. But it'll end shortly because they're going bankrupt as well. So, the news of this proposed sale came just days before world leaders are set to gather in New York for the annual UN General Assembly meeting next week, which the UN Secretary Council is also due to hold a high-level meeting on Gaza. So now the planned package that Trump wants to put together in his administration is a deal worth $3.8 billion for 30 AH-64 Apache attack helicopters and $1.9 billion for 3,250 infantry assault vehicles for the Israeli military. Another $750 million worth of support for parts, for armored personnel carriers, and power supplies are also working its way through the sale process. So, knowing all this, you have to say to yourself, we are accessories in this bombing campaign of all these seven nations they seem to find themselves at odds with. We are funding everything. Now, some of you will say, well, Israel has to defend itself. They have a right to self-defense. Is this really about self-defense at this point? They had Hamas ready to come to the table in Doha to speak about the return of the hostages. What was the end result of that? Netanyahu killed all the negotiators. Well, they didn't kill all of them, but he killed the meeting, is what happened, because 3 people got killed. So the meeting set up by Donald Trump, again, was just another sneak attack to get them all in a concerted area. They know that they were on their way because there's no way that U.S. forces in Iraq, where they came from, or inside Qatar, where we have our military. We know what happens in the skies in these countries because we have troops there. And they bombed this building that they were in. And nobody says a damn thing about it. They bombed in a sovereign nation that has absolutely nothing to do with this war. Nothing to do with it. And we're supposed to sit here and say this is a great idea? Now the whole talks are done. So this tells me Netanyahu doesn't give a damn about the 12 or so remaining hostages. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He could have gotten all 250 back before the invasion inside Gaza, but he wants Gaza. They don't want any Palestinians inside Gaza. And unfortunately for him, they're going to have a lot of people that are not going to leave. They're simply just not going to leave, despite it being in total ruins right now. Well, they bomb these remaining high-rise villages and buildings inside Gaza City. That's all part of the attack, and that's also been said before by Netanyahu, what he wants to do. So that's happening, and we're rewarding them with more money. He's got to come to the United States to get his check, I suppose. That's the way it goes. So we're funding these wars right now. Wonderful, right? We're funding it. We're funding what's happening in Gaza, folks. Be happy with your taxpayer dollars, because that's exactly what's going on. All right, let's move on, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about the economy. I didn't talk too much about it at the end of last week. Let's talk about this in the Trends Journal. And, well, we're talking about the idea of lower interest rates. They're talking about the possibility of lowering it by 25 basis points, possibly 50. And there are expectations that they will continue interest rates cuts till the end of the year. So it might happen yet again. So the bottom line is simple, is how it starts off. It says that the lower interest rates fall, the cheaper it is to borrow the money. Right? You want to borrow at a lower interest rate. That makes sense. You want to buy a house at a lower interest rate. So now you're borrowing the money. You need to finance whatever it is you're doing. Borrow money, gamble in the equity markets, increase mergers, acquisitions, or just an overall lowering borrowing cost for businesses, for consumers to expand their business. And in the end, of course, it expands and creates more jobs. There's more cash flow. But now, with lower interest rates, they're still high today. The FICO report now says that the credit scores had the worst drop since the Great Depression. The Great Recession. May have been repression, who knows. In 2009, falling 2 points this year. So now we have, with inflation, of course, the cost of living going up. That's happening right now. And wages going down relative to this inflation. Remember, inflation simply means your dollar loses value. So when they say you have a 9% inflation rate, even though under Biden it was 25 to 30%, you're losing 30 cents on every dollar. So now you need to make up for that by having more money. If you're not making more money and you're having the same amount of income, your purchase power is coming down. You're able to purchase less. You have to start making concessions. So, for students that are in deep debt right now, being forced to pay back their student loans, for which obviously for them is making a bad situation much worse. FICO reported that from February to April of this year, some 6 million Americans had student loan delinquencies for these student loans. And for the 21 million Americans with student loans, their delinquency rate is nearly 30%. An estimated $1 trillion overall. $1 trillion we are in student loan debt of, folks, as a nation, as a collective. So clearly for a large segment of Americans, if they cannot pay these outrageous loan prices back, and they are pricey, let me tell you that much. I know something about that. A bad time is getting much, much worse. So now we have FICO saying that the U.S. credit scores have fallen, the fastest rate since the Great Recession of the panic of 2008. And what does this say, especially for the younger generation? They're having a tougher time finding a decent paying job. This is why you see Gen Z saw their average credit score drop 3 points, ranking up the deepest fall since the onset of the COVID war in 2020. Right? Remember the COVID pandemic, right, folks? The biggest transfer of wealth from the middle and lower classes to the wealthy elites. Wonderful, right? So now FICO has reported that the delinquency rates on auto loans, on credit cards, by the way, credit card debt in America, well over $1 trillion. Like I said, student loans as well, over $1 trillion in debt. And also personal loans hit the highest levels since the depth of the Great Recession in 2009. And that current delinquency rates, the more consistent with an economy in a recession than in one still in expansion. So we're looking at a recession coming up. No one's talking about it. They're talking about investing. They're talking about this. They're talking about that. But the downside is that the lower the interest rates fall, we got to talk about what happens to the dollar. The lower the interest rate, the deeper the dollar falls. And the deeper the dollar falls, the higher inflation rate continues. That's what's going to happen because now you have more dollars being printed. Right? When they take out these loans, what do they have to do? They have to print out the money. What do you think? The banks just have all this money? They don't. So now they're going to print more money. There's going to be a bigger M1 money supply. And guess what? Inflation rises. There you go. More dollars chasing the same goods. Economics 102, folks. Economics 102. Now, despite this fact, President Trump has said that he wants a weaker dollar. With the dollar down some 8% since he took office earlier this year, the expectation on the street, that'd be Wall Street, is the dollar will fall another 7% next year. Trump says that he wants not a weak dollar, but a weaker dollar. Telling reporters you make a hell of a lot of money with a weaker dollar. When you have a strong dollar, you can't sell anything. It's only good for inflation. And it's good physiologically. It makes you feel good. Well, I'm sure it does when you are a multi-billionaire. And in this world, in this Trump world in particularly, this is a positive for Americans' 100 largest tech-heavy companies, who, according to Goldman Sachs, generate nearly 45% of the revenue from overseas business. And this accounts for nearly 30% of the revenue. So to make it perfectly clear, as we've continually noted, that would be the Trends Journal saying, Trump and the geek world have united. So this is a plus for them. Yep. Oh, one more thing I want to go over here. Stocks seem to be up right now. So if you're investing in stocks, that's good. Gold is up, obviously, because the dollar is down. For oil, you have the London traded Brent crude. It was up 45 cents or 0.67% to an annual 67.44 cents a barrel. And the New York traded West Texas Intermediate gained 61 cents to a whole $63.30 a barrel, due in large part to the attack from Ukraine on recent attacks, I should say, on the Russian oil refineries. So you're seeing that affect the market as well, supply and demand. So the prices are starting to creep up. Yep. All happening, all right in front of you. Bitcoin is up. Yep, there you go. So your cryptocurrencies are up, your gold's up. But is the market doing good? Are we getting the manufacturing back? That's a big thing. Are we getting manufacturing back? And the answer to that is no, we're not. We're not getting our manufacturing back like we thought we were, right? Remember Trump said we had all these investments and all these other aspects. So not happening. Not happening. In fact, some 70% of the U.S. gross domestic product is from consumer spending right now in America. And manufacturing only accounts for only 11% of the overall GDP. So there you go. There you go, folks. When are we going to get what we need is the manufacturing. I've said this before. I'll say it again. We need to get our manufacturing in order. We need to start producing more in America. The U.S. trade deficit just spiked by 32.5%, increasing it by $78.3 billion in July of 2025. So as the interest rates keep dropping, the trade deficit will keep rising, inflation will keep rising. It's all the same trends happening over and over again. And the Trends Journal is one of the only organizations I've seen that is covering this. So I wanted to share that with you. Remember I told you, you got to keep your house in order. You have to make sure you're storing up food. If you're, like I told you last week, an article I was reading to you about the rising cost in beef prices. If you know you're going to, want cheaper beef, you like beef, go out and buy some right now. Freeze it. Nothing wrong with doing that. Get ahead of the curve because you're going to be paying a hell of a lot more in the upcoming months. Oh, by the way, we only got a couple minutes. I hate when the show ends. I got to be honest with you. I have all these great articles. I only get through a couple of them. I want to talk about what's happening with this TikTok deal that was taking place on Friday, as I mentioned to you. And Trump is now set, this is in Zero Hedge, by the way, it says Trump set to approve TikTok deal. Oracle will gain algorithm control amid CEO shakeup. Yep, what I told you was going to happen was going to happen. I knew it. It was clear as mud. Yep. President Trump is preparing to sign an executive order. He signed like 203 executive orders so far this year. We passed 5 bills since he has taken office. 5 bills. In the past 8 months, 5 bills have been passed and signed into law. 203 or 4 executive orders passed. Remember we said this about Obama. Ruling from the pen. Same thing with Biden. Ruling from the pen. Where is our Congress? What the hell's... Congress is ready to approve Israel another $6.4 billion of our taxpayer dollars. What's that going to do to inflation? And the dollar itself. So President Trump is preparing to sign an executive order this week that will approve the sale of TikTok's U.S. operations to an investor consortium, including the following. Oracle. Yep. Larry Ellison, he's in charge of it now. Silver Lake and Andreessen Horowitz, according to Bloomberg. Key points from the call. with Xi Jinping. The order will formally declare that the deal meets U.S. national security requirements. That was a big issue they had with it originally. Trump will also extend the existing TikTok pause by 20 days. And the transaction is expected to close within 120 days of signing. So, Oracle will retain the TikTok algorithm and safeguard U.S. user data. That means they're going to be collecting it, what you put on there now. So they couldn't do that before, folks. That was a big problem. They couldn't collect your data. They need to do that now because they make a hell of a lot of money doing it. So Oracle will control that. 6 of the 7 board seats in the U.S. will be held by Americans. Think about who's in these positions with AI and what have you, or who sits on the boards at Oracle, in Silver Lake, or Andreessen Horowitz. They'll have their people in these positions to monitor it. Oracle reshuffled leadership Monday, naming Clay Magorek, I can't even say this name, Magorek, and Mike Ciclia, great names, right, as co-CEOs, replacing Safra Katz with no explanation or link to the TikTok deal. There you go. So TikTok's parent company, that would be ByteDance, by the way, will create a duplicate algorithm and lease it to the United States entity controlled by an investor consortium. That would be those 3 companies I said, Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz, citing a White House official stating this. So now Oracle will regain and control the algorithms now being used, safeguard the U.S. data. That'd be collecting the data now. That's what they're going to do. They're not saying that, but that's what they're going to do. And they say they're going to safeguard the data. Like no one's going to have access to it, but they will. That's the whole point of it. They didn't have control of it before. In addition, and by the way, they're going to control what you can do and say now. Because they could do it on Facebook. They could do it on TikTok. On Instagram. What's the other ones they have there? Twitter, X. They control that already. They got Musk in there. So now they've got it. They got TikTok. That was the last holdout. They now got TikTok. So now in addition, the 6 of the 7 board seats be held by Americans. There you go. As the structure for U.S. control of TikTok takes shape. There you go. So, by the way, TikTok was the whole reason that Trump got elected, too, with the youth. Just thought I'd share that part with you. It's not all just women doing these, weird dances and whatnot. Actually, there's a lot of good information out there. A lot of good information that came through TikTok about Trump, that people share about what's happening in the world, think about what's happening in Gaza. All that will be controlled now. By and large, all of it will be controlled. This was Trump stating what was taking place just the other day.
It was great. I had a great call with President Xi, and as you know, he approved the TikTok deal, and we're in the process. We have some great investors, some of the biggest in the world, American investors, great people, and we look forward to getting that deal closed.
Would you accept a deal where China controls the algorithm of TikTok?
Well, it's all being worked out. We're going to have very good control.
Okay. So they're not going to have control. That's the whole point of it. They don't want China to control what happens in the United States. They're going to take the existing system, right? The algorithm, if you will. They're going to lease it to the United States. That way we have the duplicate algorithm that they've created, right, for the app, and they will control it. Larry Ellison, all these guys will control it. They'll control what you see, what you do, what you can say. And again, in light of what's happening, right at the time when people are becoming more critical of the state of Israel in the United States, especially the young people, they've got to get around this curve. They got to do that. And what better way than controlling this app? So they don't want you to see what's happening in Gaza. They don't want you to see what's happening in Lebanon. They don't want you sharing and talking about what's happened to Charlie Kirk or question it. They want to be able to control it all. And that's how they control the narrative. That's why Israel was putting, $53 million into social media as of late? Yeah. It all makes sense, folks. All makes sense. It's all coming to a T. You just didn't see it. That's why you listen to the show, though, because you get all the relevant facts ahead of time. Folks, thank you for listening to the show today. I really do appreciate you, especially those that are sharing it with other people. I'm seeing a lot of more people listening to the show, so I appreciate you so much. Make sure you keep your house in order. Store up that food, water, ammo, anything you need to be self-sufficient. Anything. Ammo, weapons, guns, anything. Generators, anything you need to be self-sufficient. Keep your house in order, folks. Be thankful for what you have, and I will see you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Be good. God bless you.